So I'm sure most of you know Paula from Volunteer Canada. Just to give you a little bit of background, she joined Volunteer Canada in 2010 to develop a robust research program and to create capacity building tools on volunteer management. Paula's direct experience in the sector and strong connections with key players has helped Volunteer Canada to convene several dynamic public policy dialogues that focus on the role that volunteering plays in helping Canadians and communities reach their potential.
Oh, thank you. Well, so absolute pleasure to have a few days to hang out with volunteer centers. It is something that I know throughout my time in the volunteer center movement, it was always the highlight of my year whenever we have that opportunity to informally hear what each other's doing and to encourage each other and to have that sense that what we're doing in our community has broader implications. So I really thank everyone for being so warm and welcoming and just great conversations so far. So one of the things that I was asked to do in this, in the spirit of talking about innovation and connecting to the focus on skills-based volunteering is to not introduce for the first time, because I think some of you are familiar with Skills Plus and some of those tools, but just to give a reintroduction to those and to have a bit of time to play with them. So one of the things I want to say about Skills Plus and the idea of skills-based volunteering is that I always like to remind myself that the skills lens and the benefit that volunteering is a vehicle for developing skills, for transferring skills, is only one lens, that there are many benefits of volunteering, such as building community resiliency, social inclusion, and all the things you yourself know. And I think that while it's great that we do focus on skills-based, and it's important to develop tools, that we often sometimes focus too much on that and forget the broader issue. So that's something that I always remind myself, because it's not as though before volunteering was not skills-based. It has always been a combination of passion, interest, skills, and time, and all the other things that make those matches possible. So I wanted to put that out there. So with that, there are a couple of things. First of all, how many people here have played the card game, the Skills Plus? Okay, only a couple, perfect. So take your plants off, and underneath there are some cards. We're going to start with that. And distribute the cards to everyone at your table. Yeah, just take, yeah. Make sure everybody has one. Is this working? Am I moving too much? Okay, fantastic. So, you each have at least one card. So the idea of this game, and there is a deck in all of your packs, in all of your kits, there's also some extra ones there. The idea of this game was to help us look at the idea of skills in a couple of ways. So as you know, some of the research shows that people who have a particular profession or certification or professional background, some of them do want to contribute that to an organization. For many people, it's the last thing they want to do, not what they do all day at work or what they've done throughout their career. So the typical thing we hear is, just because I work in a bank does not mean I want to be on your finance committee. I may want to peel potatoes. So the idea of this game is each card has an identifier, and to help when you're doing training in local communities with nonprofits, to have the conversation that someone may present with a certain identifier. There are times they want to do something directly related to that. There are times they want to do something indirectly related, so transferable skills. And there are times when they actually want to do something totally different. So the full deck, if we were going to play it as it's meant, you would pick up an identifier. So let's say you get gardener, and you would then pick another card, and it would say either direct, indirect, or something completely different. And you would have to think of a volunteer opportunity that would match that. So the example is gardener. If I'm a gardener, and you might say direct would be, great, help us with the garden outside the nursing home. Indirect might be a person who's gardening with no nature, probably likes being outside. Think about, have that conversation. Maybe they could take a group of youth on a nature hike. Something completely different, well, maybe they want to be on your finance committee. So that's the idea here is, so why don't we play this for a few minutes? So the idea, as we're going to play it here, is we're going to think about something related, something indirect, because I think that's the place where we get the most traction in our organizations, is being creative, thinking about the person, where they're coming from, their attributes, and using that as a springboard to think of something related where they could transfer some of their skills but not be necessarily in the same, same role. So take turns, pick up the card, say what it is, and just quickly brainstorm for a couple of things that person might do that is indirectly related, something that is using the skills. And we'll just wave when you've gone through the table. Don't spend a lot of time on each because it's just to play with it, but wave when your table has had a turn.
Working with animals would be very
Well, that would be like the course the kids on a nature hike kind of experience,
that donkey.
or maybe they have more fun something known, and so they could write down like 10 fun facts that was together, or
Sure.
yes, I think that's going well with the best practices one. So many people in the community are like, there you go. Yeah. Maybe they would or was it you that was doing the Jeopardy yeah, with a fun thing to bring back to kids, so that could be also like
Okay, so I'm interested in hearing some examples of some of the things you thought of that were indirect. Did you go around? Yep. Okay, fantastic. So, as you can see, this could be a lot of fun. This tends to be a good icebreaker for workshops you're doing. At times, it's sometimes great when you're doing board staff retreats, but again, it's the idea of thinking a little creatively, thinking about that transferable space, and encouraging those who are engaging volunteers to really use the skills just as a starting point, if that is the starting point, but to think beyond that. So curious to hear, did anyone have antique dealer, and what did they come up with? Yes?
Well, we started to talk about the museums, because they have a historical perspective on some of the pieces. Many of the museums create displays, showing the individual articles, but creating a full display of timepieces.
Nice.
Yes, and actually connecting tours of
Wow.
different historical locations.
That sounds great. How about the whitewater rafter? Anyone come up? Yes, what did you come up with?
Using my skills perhaps to teach youth group about water safety.
Okay, awesome. So, a link, but not exactly the same. So as we all know, people are individuals, and these are starting points, but again, the idea here was just simply thinking about transferable skills and so on. So in this context, this tool, Skills Plus, and some of you may know Riva Cooper, who worked on that with us. She was with the Voluntary Action Center of Kitchener-Waterloo at one point and has done a lot of work teaching in the field. And so we wanted to develop something that could take the experience gained through volunteering and help people who are job seekers or employers see a direct alignment, because as you know, and again, that was similar thinking behind PREB, the idea being that we may describe our volunteer experience in a certain way and that it doesn't necessarily illuminate some of the core competencies. So we took the National Occupational Classification System, and as you could see, we have a number of the competencies listed. And then what we did was, next to it, if you scroll down, let's see here. So let's say if we're going to leadership, then you would click on there, and it will bring you to a generic volunteer opportunity that either uses, requires, or develops that skill or competency. So you can see the format is typical, as you may see in many opportunity descriptions. You'll have the goal and the time commitment and the benefits, but then it looks at what are the competencies required, and as importantly, what are the competencies that can be developed. And then at the bottom, these red buttons here again, linking directly to the ESDC's National Occupational Classification System. Those are positions that are listed that actually list those same core competencies in paid positions. So I'll just show you an example here. Okay, we'll allow. There we go. Et voila. So this was designed for many audiences in mind. One, it was designed for those who are seeing volunteering as a vehicle for developing skills and career development, so that when they describe and refer to their experiences, they could use language that really resonates with an employment career development lens. Secondly, those employers, and I know yesterday the issue of employer-supported volunteering came up. Within a company, if human resource managers are going to encourage employees to volunteer, they're often looking at it, as you know, as a professional development opportunity. So again, if you have somebody who's just had a performance appraisal and the manager would like them to develop more leadership skills or more experience motivating teams, they could look to this tool and say, okay, what kind of volunteer opportunity can I suggest and support that will actually help them develop that skill? So we're thinking of individuals who are in transition in some way and are seekers, so for volunteers themselves, for employers who may employ people, as well as for employers who may, within their existing workforce, want to look at volunteering as a vehicle for professional development. So has anybody used this tool in their centers? Yes? Mm-hmm. Shall I? Here we go. Just have.
Sorry, Diane used it a lot, going to talk with high school students, speaking with universities at newcomer groups, just giving them a sense of where, those, I think, three groups in particular tend to be looking at the relationship between volunteering and employment. And so it's a great tool for them to really think through. Our volunteer managers from our members tend to get a lot of applications where they go through the whole intake process and the orientation only to find out that the match really wasn't what the person was looking for. Mm-hmm. And so this is about how we help them think it through more before they go in that direction.
Thank you. So as you can see, it can be used for many audiences, but as volunteer centers, I know that many people are using it in their training, and as well those who do volunteer, like interviewing in their office, they will often use it as a tool. Because as Jane was saying, the more comfortable we make it for people to put their goals on the table, as well as their passion and their caring, the more we're able to then see what kind of environment and position will help meet those needs. Because like every good relationship, you want all needs to be met. And just the fact that someone is happy to be developing skills through volunteering certainly doesn't negate the fact that they are also there to contribute to community. So having that balance there. So with that, again, just want to mention that when we work with nonprofit organizations who are looking for templates for positions, you'll see in the handout, but as you saw there, the tool is a digital tool, and it's most effective when used online. But in your kits, there is a hard copy, and what we've often done is taken the sheet which has the competency matrix, and then taken, if you look one page further, the blank template for a position description, encourage people and organizations to start describing the competencies and the skills required, as well as the competencies and the skills developed in that format, so that it really is in sync with this tool, but also then PREB as well. So we're looking at some alignment here. So it was a nice kind of coming together when we had developed this, and then we heard about PREB and we started exchanging. We said, you use NOC, we use NOC. This is, a really nice companion piece to it. So that's why we wanted to share that with you this morning. Any questions about that? Yes.
The tool
Mm-hmm.
Everyone got a copy of the skills blessing in their package. And OVCN has some extra copies as well that we've paid for that we are happy to share around. So luckily Volunteer Canada allowed us to
Totally.
be able to make those extra copies available to everyone.
And as I said, it is online, so if you go onto volunteer.ca under Engaging Volunteers, you can see it there. You could also download it as a PDF, so it's not like you have to keep going back to the website. It's an interactive PDF, so you can use it as a standalone. You can have it on your own sites and use it in any way that makes sense to you. And what we're trying to do also is redesign it in a way that you could keep adding. We currently have about 19 position descriptions that give some ideas, but it would be great if we could set it up in such a way where all of you can keep adding to that.
So is there a template or tool available that where volunteer centers could use this to train nonprofit organizations?
Definitely. So there is a PowerPoint on the tool, which is available to all volunteer centers. So it was put on that shared space we had at one point that we didn't advertise well and is not really used. So we'll reactivate that, but I think the best way is to send it to OVCN so that you can have it. So there's a PowerPoint in English and in French that describes the tool, that has a couple of exercises as well. And the cards, there was a deck in your kits, and there's some extra ones here if anybody wants them, because absolutely they're available as well. So yeah, so the National Occupational Classification System, which is maintained. Yeah, same knock. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was one of the things that was so great. As I said, we had just developed this. We met with CABQ about another project, and we heard about PREM, and we were just both very excited about the fact that we had come about this in two different ways that really were well aligned. So that is really great. If anybody wants, in addition to that, these were in your kits. It is our research on employer-supported volunteering, so it also has some information in there. And in terms of innovation, it will be either at the end of today or December 5th rather. But you may have remembered the research we did on recognition, which looked at how do volunteers want to be recognized. And someone referred to it earlier that not everyone wants to go to a banquet, although some certainly do still want to go to banquets. So I'm not suggesting that people cancel them. But the tool that's being developed is modeled after, did anyone read the book, The Languages of Love? Okay, so this book is quite brilliant. It says that everybody expresses their love and has a different language. So it might be giving a gift or affection or spending time together or mowing the lawn, doing a service, and so on. So the languages of recognition is modeled after that. You take a quiz as a volunteer and you find out what is your language of recognition. Do you want a certificate? Do you want a thank you note? Do you want a t-shirt? Do you want your name posted in the paper? So there's these different types, and so we're going to make that available, of course. Again, all of our material is bilingual, and it's also, there's no cost for that. And you can use that in your training, as well as provide that to member agencies so that they can find out what is the language of recognition of their volunteers. So a little bit of fun, but a serious backdrop to it. Yes?
Just a comment. I think it would be great to have that in your volunteer management.
No, actually, that's funny. I heard about it yesterday. I would love to have
Totally.
something like that. So it would be nice if volunteer managers and volunteers could have their volunteers fill it out, let me know how the volunteers want to be recognized, because I could run reports and see who likes certificates and
Definitely, definitely. And as it's been developed, it's a standalone right now, but wouldn't it be great, just collaborating here and seeing if some organization can then see, well, if the majority of volunteers are really not into t-shirts, we might, that might not be the way to go. So with that, again, I just wanted to introduce that to you. Any other questions you have, I'll be around for lunch, and contact me at any time. Delight to be here. Take care.